Not bad.
Do you think I'm ready to go solo?
We're in no hurry.
But as soon as I get my ticket, I can apply to join the Royal Flying Corps.
What's your name?
Miller, sir.
Do you know my name?
No, sir.
You ever seen me before?
No, I don't think so.
Then what the hell do you think you're doing, allowing me onto this airfield without establishing my identity?
But you're in uniform, sir.
So is the Kaiser.
Yes, sir.
You see that?
Yes, sir.
My name is Captain Triggers. You got that?
Yes, sir.
And Miller.
Sir?
The next time you or anybody else allows anybody onto this airfield they don't personally know or haven't personally checked, they'll be put on a charge.
Yes, sir.
You might pass the word around. At ease. My name's Triggers. I'm your new flight commander.
Yes, sir.
How many machines are flying at the moment?
2, because one's grounded and one's...
I just want to know when I can call the crews together. Nothing early tomorrow?
Not so far,
Right,
sir.
take this down. Flight Commander Sea Flight. All pilots and observers will report at 9 Akema in number 1 hangar. There will be no exceptions. Where's my tent?
Wonderful to see you again, sir.
You're supposed to be inside. It's the Daily Express. Now, in this crumpled and rather grubby newspaper, there's an article by a writer called H.G. Wells.
Who's H.G. Wells?
He's a writer.
I'm glad some of you have heard of him. He writes, at present, 300 miles of Frenchmen, 30 or so miles of Englishmen, and perhaps a score miles of Belgians are confronting 350 or so miles of Germans. But the way to the left is barred by the sea. The way to the right by Switzerland. There is a way, however, to the rear of the Germans, and that is by going through the air to behind their lines and smash up their munitions factories. We could clear them out of the air altogether if we had enough aeroplanes now. It goes on. Every aviator we have in the air is worth 100 men saved from death below. Now, that's one view of what flying is all about. Here's another. This is in the latest issue of Flight, and it's about the Hendon Air Display. Flying, as usual, is apparently once more to be the motto at Hendon, judging by the first weekly meeting during the Easter holidays. In every way, Hendon looked its old self. The band played. The huge crowd in the popular enclosures took tea as usual. So there's every prospect of these meetings achieving their customary success. That there was no shortage of petrol was confirmed by the ranks of vehicles in the motor car paddock. Which brings me to my reason for calling you here together. As members of the Flying Corps, I'd like to know what you think we ought to be doing in this war.
Ought to be doing, sir?
That's right.
Well, as far as the General of Staff
I'm not asking the General Staff, I'm asking you.
Well, we're told what to do.
Stand at ease. Yes.
We're told what to do, aren't we? Reconnaissance.
Reconnaissance, sir.
Reconnaissance, sir.
Reconnaissance, Ironbeard. What else?
Our main task here at Sainte Marie is spotting for the artillery.
Yes, we spot for targets and we help someone else to destroy them. But my question was, what do you think we ought to be doing?
We could attack the enemy infantry, sir. With what? One rifle and one revolver against hundreds of men in trenches armed with machine guns and Lord knows what?
Yes. What about you? It's Mr. Favell, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
What do you think we ought to be doing?
Well, I suppose, we could try some more of Mother Biggin's pork pies, sir.
Mother Biggin's...
Some homemade bombs we tried out.
Oh, indeed.
Yeah, they were rather a waste of time and effort. Well, no one's bothered to devise a method for aiming the bombs, have they?
Including you, I take it. Anything else?
Well, sir, the Hun machine flies higher and faster
Yes, so
than
we have to
do.
think and act more quickly. And please go on.
Well, on the whole, the Hun's not such a bad chap. I mean, he doesn't bother us too much, that is. But we do have one who's becoming a bit of a nuisance.
With a machine gun, sir. And he's a jolly good shot.
And you can't always count on his gun jamming either, worse luck.
He catches us on our way home, sir. When we're tired, running out of
Yes, so
fuel.
it's a spiral turn to duck out of the fight and head like hell for home.
Yes, sir.
What else would you suggest?
Avoid him altogether. I don't want dead heroes. And I'm short enough of pilots and machines as it is. Medals sent home to relatives are absolutely no use to me. I want chaps who can think. Experiment. So, to sum up. Stand at ease, sit down, relax. Now, we reconnoiter, we spot the guns. Yes. We could be attacking the enemy infantry, and we could be dropping bombs with the help of some genius to devise a better method of aiming them for us, and we could be thinking of some better means of defense against the Hun machines, right? Right?
Yes, sir.
And we're to do all these things flying this aeroplane, the Blériot Experimental Model 2C. One might have hoped they'd have given us an aeroplane they didn't actually admit was an experiment. That's beside the point. Now, Mr. Galen, now you mentioned reconnaissance. What sort of an aeroplane would you like for reconnaissance?
Well, we haven't any choice, have we?
Haven't we? For your information, there are 40 companies in Britain making aeroplanes. So what sort of aeroplane would you like for long-range reconnaissance?
Well, it would have to have a long range.
Yes, that was implicit in my question. What else?
Well, we're not too keen on hanging about, sir.
Yes, so our ideal machine would be a two-seater. Fast, light, maneuverable.
Exactly what I was going to say, sir.
Mr. Favell,
Yes, sir.
what do you think of the B-2?
I'm not a pilot,
I'm
sir.
not an observer, but I have opinions of them.
Well, Captain Dornish, our previous flight commander, he used to call it a mechanical cow, sir.
He's a good judge of animals, I'd say. Sergeant Farmer.
Well, she's faster than a dung cart, sir.
And handles like a trap.
Yes, exactly. It's an excellent machine for use at Hendon, giving distinguished visitors their first introduction to flying. It's a splendid machine, if there wasn't a war on. Mr. Bravington.
Yes?
Artillery spotting?
Slow enough, so it's pretty good for that.
Yes, I agree. Now, I've done a bit of spotting for the artillery, and I've noticed I can very rarely tell in a battle which guns are producing which explosions on the ground.
Well, it's not too difficult if there isn't a major bombardment
Yes,
going
but
on.
as every battle seems to be bigger than the one before, and every bombardment heavier. And would you agree we're not as useful as we ought to be? And getting less useful all the time.
I think we've done some good work.
Yes, but that work, as it stands, it's limited.
Well, yes.
Sergeant Farmer, now you're the one who wanted to attack the enemy infantry. What do you think of the B-2 for that job?
Well, sir, she's a good gun platform. But the observer's angle of fire downwards, well, it isn't very good, sir. I remember you pointing out when you were instructing us, sir, the most likely things for the observer to hit were the wings, the tail, the propeller, and if he wasn't careful, his own pilot.
And as a bombing machine, Mr. Favell, how do you assess the B-2 as a purveyor of your pork pies?
Well, even with a little bit of extra weight, she won't take off, will she,
and
sir?
as a machine to defend yourself against the Hun?
Oh, absolutely hopeless.
So, gentlemen, to sum up, we have an aeroplane with which we're being asked to do a wide variety of jobs, and it's absolutely hopeless for any of them. Nobody seems to know what the hell we ought to be doing. So I want your ideas, suggestions as to how we can do our job better. Now, I'll expect them to reach me by this time tomorrow. Now, I've made an offer to engine fitters and riggers. The man who can come up with the best suggestion for improving the fighting capabilities of our machine will be given a weekend's leave in Paris, at my expense.
What about us?
We're short of flyers. I can't go throwing leave passes around, I'm sorry. Not yet, anyway. If you do come up with something useful, it might do you a lot more good than get you a furtive weekend in Paris. It might save your lives.
Oh, boring old weekend in Paris. Oh, to be in England now that April's there.
It isn't April.
The month is immaterial.
Turn the car around, Matthews. Are you on? Keep it fit. Good. It's about those new gates in the drive.
No, it's not about the gates. It's Mr. Farmer about.
He's inside, but
Splendid.
Mr. Farmer,
Oh, good morning, sir.
was passing, suddenly realized you were exactly the man we need.
Need for what?
This recruiting drive.
Oh, I've seen some of the posters out.
Oh, no, you don't get men to join the army by just sticking up posters. No, so we formed this committee.
I didn't know anything about a committee.
Well, you know what it's like. Can't do anything in England till you formed a committee. Not that committee's much use, but individual members of it can be. Now, I'm chairman, Vicar's vice chairman. Daughter-in-law, she's doing all the actual work. She's secretary. Then And there's old Mrs. Ann Strother Forbes. Well, she's useless, of course. We have to have her. She's treasurer, I think she calls herself, one or two others.
Yes, sir, but where do I come into all this?
Ah, glad you asked. I want you on the committee.
Oh, no, I don't know anything about committees.
Well, point is, there's nobody on that committee apart from myself has ever served with anything. Unless you count the boys' church brigade, which I don't. I dare say the vicar does.
I'm not sure that I'm the man you want, sir. Not to encourage men to join the army.
That's one reason why it's very important that you are on that committee. There's far too many people whipping up a kind of lunatic patriotism, as though going to war were like going on an outing. The vicar, for one. Never realized what they meant by the church militant till I had to sit through his sermon last Sunday.
All the same, sir, if you want people to volunteer, me with only...
Only one arm. Yes, I know. But people in England have got to realize that when the vicar starts talking about our glorious dead, he's talking about real men, not abstractions. He's talking about husbands, sons, brothers and friends. Real men. But men who are willing to risk their lives.
Anyway, sir, I'm not much of a one for speaking.
Oh, my dear fellow, nobody's going to ask you to speak. Now, the main problem be stopping people speaking. Given his head, the vicar will go on for 2 hours. No. I want you to remind people, including the rest of the committee, I may add, that service has a price, and so has honor.
What will this recruiting drive be, sir?
Well, I've arranged for some recruits from Caxton to parade through the village. I promised them beer afterwards, so there'll be no shortage of volunteers. And there's a display of weapons in the village hall. I've been promised the band of HMS Defiant. It's not a ship at all. It's a training base, 50 miles inland. That's for the Saturday. Oh, Red Cross putting on a demonstration. We're borrowing a recruiting sergeant and a final meeting in the hall. That's when I hope that the men will actually come forward.
They'll come forward, sir.
I sincerely hope so.
I reckon if Lord Kitchener could just get another 100,000 men, we'd be in Berlin before the harvesting.
Yeah.
Right.
What'd you say?
Well, if you think I'd be any use...
Splendid. Look, there's a committee meeting at 8 o'clock tomorrow evening up at the manor. You come along at 7. We'll have a glass of sherry wine, and I'll warn you about the rest of the committee. Did you make these?
Yes.
Tom?
Sir John?
Remember when I tried to make a wheel spoke?
I remember when the cat overturned afterwards, sir.
It's obvious to me you can make a devil of a lot better spoke with one hand than I ever could with two. When you're up at the manor, measure the wheels of the hay cart, would you? Needed 2 or 3 spokes last time I looked.
Oh, I'm sure you'll find someone, sir.
Thought I had. You. Only we'll need it before we start harvesting. Oh, any news of your nephew? Young Alan.
Well, Mrs. Farmer's had letters, but sense was cut, most of them.
My grandson never talks about anybody else.
Young Richard, he's always up at our house. Every 5 minutes asking to borrow Alan's books on flying.
Learning to fly. Getting on very well, he tells me. I'm proud of him, I can tell you. Youngsters like Alan, Richard, going to shape all our futures.
So we reject the idea of carrying the bombs in the aeroplane?
Seems like it.
Because I happen to have seen an aeroplane in England designed by a gentleman who disagrees with you. It carries 8 112-pound bombs in the fuselage, not 2 outside like this thing. Frankly, gentlemen, I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed because not one of you has bothered to answer my question. What the hell do you think we ought to be doing? Well? Then let me ask you another question. Do you think we're better employed telling the artillery where they're dropping their high explosives than we would be dropping high explosives ourselves? All right, another question. Do any of you seriously expect to be alive in 6 months' time if we carry on with what we do at the moment, with the equipment we've got? And if you don't, then what the hell do you propose to do about it?
Any more meetings in that hangar, I'll get no work done at all. They're already calling it Trafalgar Square. He's offering a prize for the best idea, then.
Yeah, a dirty weekend in Paris.
Better than a wet weekend in Wales.
I wouldn't say that. Quite lively where I come from.
Oh, do the can at the pithead, do they?
You should be at our working men's club on a Saturday night. We got a chap there, 8 pints of best bitter, then he sings Pagliacci standing on his head.
What could Paris possibly offer after that?
Yeah, what do you make of him, then?
Oh, haven't had time, really. I'm still reeling from my first encounter.
Oh, you must have found out something.
Oh, this job does have certain advantages, I suppose.
A telephone. And friends.
And disadvantages, like being stuck inside these four walls with him all day.
What have you found out about him, then?
Careful. He comes through that door, fast as a knife, and at your throat before you can bat an eyelid.
Oh, come on. What?
Well, with a new flight commander every 5 minutes, I have to do my own little bit of reconnaissance, don't I? Otherwise, I'd be shelled to fragments by now. It's a matter of keeping one jump ahead of them, that's all. I was talking to a corporal who worked in the armory when Captain Triggers first came over to France. One of the first squadrons sent over here just after war broke out.
And what did this corporal say?
Triggers blacked his eye for him.
He punched a corporal?
Oh, nothing was said, mind.
Why not? That's a serious offence.
Yeah, and nothing said by you either.
Oh, no, of course not. Yet how did it happen?
Well, it was just before the retreat from Mons. Well, you remember how bad that was to the Tommies? The Flying Corps were just making reports in those days. They hadn't found a proper use for us then. Anyway, after 2 days of making reports over the Caen Canal, Captain Triggers storms into the armory and demands a case of grenades. He was crying.
Crying?
With rage. What am I supposed to report, he says? My countrymen being mown down by machine guns. My countrymen being massacred, blown to pieces. Well, that's when he punched the corporal. Well, the grenades were rationed, you see, 6 to each man. So Captain Triggers thumps him, takes the whole case, and then flies at 0 feet over von Kluck's advancing army, throwing them about like confetti. Oh, he crashed, of course. But then he swims the canal to the British side, and 2 Tommies haul him out, covered in blood, laughing like a madman and shouting, "I'm one of you now."
Well, he can't be all that bad a chap, then.
Ah! It's Corporal Morgan, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Wheels already turning, I hope.
Pardon, sir?
Ideas, Corporal.
Oh, yes, sir. I do have something in mind, sir.
Oh, good. I'm told you're an excellent mechanic, so I can hold you personally responsible for the engine of my machine.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Oh, thank you. Off you go. Take it you know all about me by now, Sergeant. And I know all about flight office sergeants, of course. The telephone and friends. So, we should get on rather well, I think, don't you?
It's for the recruitment drive. Harry thought it might come in useful.
What for?
Oh, just to have there on show.
Where did Harry get it?
Under his bed.
No. I mean before.
Oh, he didn't say.
Never says anything, does he, about the war? His part in it. What's that flag for?
It's off Miss Edwards' front gate. She's absolutely useless with a needle. They're going to hang it over the gate of the hall.
Do you think he stuck his bayonet in any babies?
Harry says that's all lies to make us hate them. And no different to us, he says.
Do you think Harry killed him?
What?
Well, he must have done, I suppose. That's how he got the helmet. Gosh, I can't imagine Harry killing a man.
He just picked it up, I expect.
Do you think he stuck his bayonet in him?
Look, you're in a bloodthirsty mood this morning, aren't you?
Sorry.
I'm not so sure this recruiting drive's a good idea. Getting men up to fight and kill.
Has he ever said how he lost his arm?
No, he's never mentioned it.
Never talks about anything much, does
He
he?
doesn't waste his time tongue-wagging, if that's what you mean.
I wonder...
Look, you've done quite enough wondering for one morning. They'll all be waiting for their milk.
So they will. He can be quite fearsome, though, at times.
What?
Harry. I wouldn't be at all surprised.
Yes, it's a start.
You see, sir, if the enemy attacks from the rear and he's expecting to be safe, he'll be in for a nasty shock.
Once, till he learns. Who's flying the airplane all this time?
Ah, that's it, sir.
No, I don't see how the pilot can simultaneously be flying the aircraft, looking forward, and firing the machine gun backwards.
But we have the pilot in the forward cockpit, like the Hun does in the Albatross.
You know, Corporal, I can't think of a single reason why we don't.
Well, in training machines, they have controls in both cockpits. If they can do it in, say, a DH-1, why can't we put the controls forward in the BE-2?
You know why they don't, Corporal?
No, sir.
Because they're preoccupied by the idea of the observer being the key man, so they put him in the front cockpit. You're absolutely right.
Is that worth a weekend in Paris, sir? Only you did promise, sir.
Tell you what, Corporal. Sir. Invent some way I can fire to port and starboard without falling out. You can have your weekend.
But that's impossible. Sir.
I don't know. But at the moment, I have a far more limited range of fire with this than I would with a rifle.
It's from Alan, and it's jolly interesting. Would you like to hear it?
Yes, I would, Master Richard.
Mr. Farmer, Harry, that is, he says that all your letters from Alan have been heavily censored.
Yes, they are.
Well, they haven't censored this one very much. Dear Richard, many thanks for your letter. I'm very glad you're enjoying my books, and of course, take any of them you want. I say, that's jolly decent of him.
Well, they're not much use to him in France.
Yes, I've been doing quite a bit of flying. Most of the time, we do not see any Hun aeroplanes because they do not want to meet us. Then there's a bit crossed out by the censor, I'm afraid. Then it goes on. We're all feeling fine and enjoying it here. The food is not too bad, considering. And the flight are a splendid lot of men to be with. How are you getting on with learning to fly? It is a wonderful moment the first time you take over an aeroplane yourself and feel the freedom of being away from the ground. I envy you that you still have this in front of you. Then there's another bit crossed out by the censor. Let me know how you're getting on, and please give my regards to your family. Yours sincerely, Alan.
Well, that's nice, isn't it?
Yes, it's jolly nice of him to write to me, considering... Well, he must have got an awful lot in his mind out there.
Yes, I expect he has. Oh, it's very kind of you to come and read it to me.
Actually, I also came to borrow some more of his books.
Come in. All pilots and observers are issued with rifles and revolvers for defense against attack by enemy machines.
Yes, sir?
And when did machines of A flight become the enemy?
There's a simple explanation for that.
To be. Well?
One of Captain Mackay's machines was flying towards us some distance away, and we fired on it just...
You what? You're admitting you opened fire on a machine from another flight?
No, sir. That is, I didn't fire,
Well, then
sir.
who the hell did?
I fired my revolver, sir.
I've heard of your prowess with firearms, Sergeant.
Sergeant Farmer's the best shot on the squadron.
Indeed. We've room for good shots, you know. Plenty of spaces waiting to be filled. In the trenches. Now, you are a pilot. Our role in this war is reconnaissance.
But I thought you resented that. You've been asking us for ideas
Not
about
for
how
shooting down our own machines. And we're fighting the Hun, not Captain Mackay. Damn and blast him. Look, I've only been here 5 minutes. I get this sort of thing. I don't need reminding that I've taken over command of a bunch of irresponsible idiots.
Perhaps I'd better come back when you're in a calmer mood,
You damn well stay where you are.
May I remind you that we are in the presence of a sergeant?
A sergeant? Well, by the time Captain Mackay's finished with him, he's demanding a court of inquiry.
But that's quite ridiculous.
Now, you listen to me, both of you. I will tolerate a certain amount of horseplay where the RAFC were not a guards regiment, but this sort of thing I will not tolerate. Do you understand?
Am I allowed to speak now, sir?
Yes.
I did say there was a simple explanation.
So you did, and as it was Sergeant Farmer who fired the shot, or shots, I'd like to hear it from him.
Well, sir, the B-2 from A Flight was coming towards us. I couldn't think of any other way to warn him, so I fired my revolver.
Warn him of what?
The Hun! What else?
Oh, dear. Yes, I see him. That's different. All right, I'm sorry. Stand at ease. Damn bits of paper. Now, why can't people speak to your face? I've had a formal complaint about this. An aeroplane from Sea Flight not only dived dangerously on one of my machines, forcing it to fly through cloud, but even open fire on it. If your pilots consider it part of their duty to attack my machines, I hope you'll put them straight. I also expect that you will order a court of inquiry. Now, you say that otherwise...
The Hun was above and behind him, sir, going out of the sun. He couldn't have seen him.
And if you hadn't opened fire on one of Captain Mackay's aeroplanes...
I don't think he'd have had a chance, sir.
Right, I'll make just that point to Captain Mackay. All right, dismissed.
There is one thing, sir.
Yes.
Oh, we've always been careful to avoid flying through cloud. Apart from the fact the machine gets thrown around and you lose your sense of direction, you can find yourself flying upside down.
Fall out.
Yes, sir. But the point is, if we hadn't forced that B-2 down into the cloud, the Albatross would have got him.
Well, we were talking about it when we landed, and perhaps we've been wrong about cloud. I mean, it needn't be a danger. It can save your life.
Sergeant Mills, take a message to all pilots and observers. Come on. In future, you will take every opportunity to fly through cloud in order to accustom yourselves to the experience. Oh, and send a copy to Captain Mackay of A Flight.
Yes, sir.
Is Harry not here?
Oh, he's up at the hall, missus, along with Sir John.
Oh, that's good, because I've been thinking. They'll all be wearing their suits up there on the platform.
Well, Harry's got a best suit. In his room, he keeps it in a suitcase.
Well, it'll need a sponge and a press. Now, I don't like to suggest it. I mean, you know why he's like.
Oh, yes, oh, you know. You leave her to me, missus. He won't know what's been out of the case.
Yes, I don't think that's too bad. Now, the men who are going to volunteer, they'll file up a gangway in the centre. Then Mrs. Anstruther Forbes will stand on the left and demand that somebody buy a war bond for every man that comes forward. She wanted to stand in the centre, but then they'd have to walk over her. Or round her, to be even more difficult.
I was wondering, sir, if... You see, I got a German helmet, what they call a pickelhaube, one with a spike on it. I was wondering if it'd be of any use.
Oh, my dear fellow, a splendid thing to have. I'll put it on the table on the stage. It's confidentially the vicar wanted to put a crucifix. I think your helmet would be much more suitable. Now, we'll have a Union Jack behind the speakers. Conservative Association have promised I can borrow theirs.
If you are in need of someone to play the piano...
Oh, indeed we are, Miss Collins. I was promised the band of HMS Defiant, but they're only available on the Friday.
Well, I shall have to practice a bit. I don't get much time, what with the milk round these days.
Hello, Squabs. I saw the car outside.
What sort of a generation is it that calls their grandfathers names like squabs?
No respect.
Miss Collins?
Good afternoon, sir.
How's the flying?
I did my second circuit this morning. That's when you fly right round the field and land, only the landing wasn't so good, I'm afraid.
That's the most difficult part, according to Alan.
Yes, it is. But my instructor says I'm coming on nicely, and I shall soon be ready to fly solo.
A scorch mark?
All down the leg.
What What on earth's he doing wearing his best trousers in the smithy?
Well, it must have been when Alice was washing his others. She keeps on and on having to buy himself a new pair.
It's his best suit.
Oh, you know what Harry is.
What's he going to wear up there on the platform?
Oh, I found this in the pocket.
What is it?
The Distinguished Conduct Medal. It's for gallantry in the field.
Harry, I was thinking about Saturday. What are you going to wear?
My suit.
Yes, well, Tom was tidying up and he says there's a scorch mark down the trouser leg.
Oh, yeah, well, I don't know.
Well, there's a suit upstairs. My Will's. Now, you're about the same size, and it is almost new.
It wouldn't fit.
I could alter it.
I'll think about it.
You'll be wearing your medal.
How do you know about that?
Tom found it.
When he was tidying.
Yeah. How did you win it?
I didn't win it. Enough of my unit got killed, so they gave me the DCM.
I'd like to know.
While we was retreating, in the confusion, we got mixed up with an artillery battery. In the artillery, the main thing is saving the guns, not the men. Guns. Anyway, they was limbering up. Shell landed. Killed some of the horses. Some of the men. And that was that.
What happened to you?
One of the guns was blown on its side, almost. Slipping towards a ditch. Those of us as were left tried to hold it. I got my arm through one of the wheels. The gun slipped into the ditch. Best be off.
Come in.
Oh, may I see you a moment, sir?
Yes?
Well, I just had an idea, sir.
What is it?
Well, I've seen it dozens of times before, but I never realized. Birds.
What about birds?
Well, when we fly, we're still really behaving like cavalry or infantry.
Yeah, now, what are you trying to say, sir?
We have airplanes that go in one direction, and we have weapons with a limited angle of fire.
Well, it's hardly an original observation.
No, but birds don't work like that, sir.
Birds don't fly around.
Yes, they do. They're beaks.
You're suggesting we try to peck the enemy to death?
No, sir. Birds swoop on their prey. I've just been watching one, sir. I mean, we've all seen it millions of times before, but we didn't realize. I mean, no one's ever thought of using the airplane the way a bird uses its body.
And you see, sir, you can aim the whole aeroplane. Fix the gun to the machine, then aim the whole machine.
Sergeant Farmer.
Sir.
That's the most intelligent idea I've heard in years. Sergeant Mills.
Sir?
Message for the notice board. To all personnel in sea flight. The man who can devise the best method for attaching a weapon to a machine so that it can be aimed by aiming the aeroplane and fired by the pilot will be given a weekend's leave in Paris.
You've already made that offer, sir?
Oh, yes. This offer, yes, I can't afford to. This offer cancels the other one out. Don't write that down. It doesn't apply to pilots. What are you waiting for?
Sir?
I only fixed one gun, sir, because that was all the armory could spare, but you could have two. You could have one on the other side as well. Well, if you'd like to jump in, sir.
Yeah, excuse me.
I've made up some sights, sir, and I've fixed them along the fuselage, sir. Yes. I haven't aligned them, though, sir. Eh? You'd have to allow for the convergence, you see.
Yes. Well, how do I reload it, then?
You can't do that, sir.
Oh.
But if you had two guns, you'd fire the one first.
Then the other.
That's it, sir. Well, if you'd like to try it out then, sir.
In here?
I put some sandbags at the end there, sir. All you have to do is see, first you cock the gun. I'll do that, sir. Now, you'll find a piece of wire coming through a hole by the compass.
Yes.
Now, you pull the wire, sir.
And you better.
Oh, sir.
Ready? Corporal?
Yes, sir?
It's not quite right yet, is it?
It's only a first try, sir.
We're going to lose a wing every time we engage the enemy.
But, sir...
It's just as well we don't have a gun on both wings, isn't it?
I was wondering about putting it on the top wing. It'd shoot off the tips of the propeller from there.
I don't think it's quite worth a weekend in Paris, do you?
If I strengthened the strut...
It's worth a drink for trying. Heads or tails?
Heads.
Sorry.
There. All I had to do was alter the trousers.
It still don't seem right.
Will would have wanted you to wear it, I know. Now, let's try the jacket. Well, that fits nicely across the shoulders. Well, I can soon alter that.
I got to wear it on Saturday.
Well, it doesn't take me 3 days to turn up a sleeve. Ah, you're going to look very smart up there on the platform.
Well, I suppose it makes more sense than letting it go to waste.
As I say, we'll hardly wore it.
But the main thing, sir, speaking from experience, is a sense of excitement. Whip 'em up.
Yes, I suppose so. Well, there was quite a lot of applause for the march past.
In my opinion, sir, a proper Fred Carno's army, that lot. Rifles all angles, arms not swinging to the proper height. If I had them, they'd be out on the parade ground till they got it right.
They were only raw recruits, only been in the army a few weeks.
There's no reason for sloppiness, with respect, sir.
Oh, no, but now the band.
Now the band. Well, now, they was regulars, and that's the difference. Royal Navy, admittedly, but still regulars.
Aha, Miss Collins. May I introduce RSM Butcher?
Miss.
Miss Collins very kindly offered to play some music when the men come forward at the meeting.
Splendid. I want something as the audience starts to come in. The green sleeves.
Yes, I thought that might be suitable for this.
With respect, miss, speaking from experience, a wrong atmosphere. Now, what about Mademoiselle from Armentiers?
Well, I haven't got the music, but I might be able to manage it.
Do you think that the words are quite suitable?
Nobody would be singing no words, sir. Right, let's try it. Then you bang. Now imagine the door's open, and I'm the first man in. Right! There's the spirit. Keep playing. Now, Miss Collins, I make the actual appeal for men. Now, the moment I finish, you come straight in with the piano.
Oh, I thought I'd tried Land of Hope and Glory.
Now, with respect, miss, speaking from experience, bit of something a bit more cheerful. Pack up your troubles.
Oh, I think I got that here somewhere.
Splendid. Right, I finish, you start. Now, I'll arrange for the platform party to applaud as soon as the men come forward. Soon gets taken up by the audience, a bit of applause.
Yes.
Now, the words I finish with. This is no time for namby-pambies. This is a time for men. So who's going to be the first brave lad to come forward to serve his king and country?
I see.
Right, now, the moment I say king and country, you come in with the piano. Yes. Right. Well, let's try it. So who's going to be the first brave lad to come forward to serve his king and country?
Off you go. Good luck. Strike! Not yet, you young fool! Engine on! Round again! Round again! Oh, my God!
Ladies and gentlemen, we all know why we are gathered together here on this lovely evening. I would like to quote the words of the Archbishop of York. He said, "It is to friends of peace that I especially appeal to be supporters of this war." Yes, indeed, friends of peace, for this is truly a Christian war. As the Reverend E.W. Bravington said, our enemies are not Christians, not human beings, but reptiles. Truly, there is no effort we must not make, no sacrifice we must not be willing to bear in order to ensure victory in this war.
What is it? It's a telephone message at Mr. Rudkin's shop from Simonsfield. It's Master Richard. He's been killed.
Dare I say it? Yes, indeed, with the light of battle in your eyes. And I know that this committee will not have been formed in vain.
Ladies and gentlemen, now British lads have never been afraid to serve their country. How many soldiers here today? Come on, stand up, let's see you. You're on parade again. Right, you can sit down again. Like we say in the army. As you will. Well, now, what I'm going to say now, it's to the young lads of this village. Lads who in a few minutes will come forward to volunteer. And I promise you this. You look back on the days you spend in the service of His Majesty the King as the best days of your life. And when you come home again, and you see the shirkers who weren't at the front, the shirkers who weren't standing by your shoulder in the fight against the Hun, you won't just despise them. You'll pity them for what they missed. And I trust there are no shirkers here today. No. I trust there isn't a man in this village of whom his family need ever feel ashamed. Now, this is no time for namby-pambies. This is a time for men. So who's going to be the first brave lad to come forward to serve his king and country?